Today on the Flaherty Solutions podcast, we're talking about risk. Let's talk about risk, baby. Just kidding.
Your level was like, I was not expecting this.
I know. Well, when you coach me through it, I'm like, I'm going to do what I want.
You go,
right?
girl. You go, girl.
Right. So risk is kind of a hot topic nowadays, and we're going to get a little controversial too. You know, because there's COVID out there,
Yeah.
and so we're going to talk about all things risk. Not all things, but several facets of risk.
I love it.
You know, but first I do want to talk about my cup broke that I normally like to use with the straw, and I know it's a really first world problem, but like, do you ever have a cup that you love? Like, you have a new one. It's almost like the adult security blanket. Like, there's certain cups that you mugs and tumblers and that you drink out of. I got you that one for Father's Day. It's a Yeti. We're kind of Yeti
Snobs.
freaks. Snobs is the better
Yeah.
word. So I need a new. I think I'm gonna go for the Yeti with the straw. But anyway, I wanted to talk about risk because you've got
Nothing else on the cup? Because
no,
I feel like I'm missing a punchline here.
not at all. I'm just
Okay.
saying, like, I'm
We
not
just-
very happy to.
We just wanted to state the fact that we're Yeti snobs, apparently.
No, I drink water on the podcast, and I'm normally used to having my straw to help me drink more water. And
So you're going to hold it with both hands?
I don't like glasses with water in it. If you wanted me to talk more, I can talk all day
you
about
go.
cups with water.
You go.
So we're going to talk about different risks. We're going to talk about the theme of this podcast, this episode is what risks are you willing to take to live the life you want?
Ooh, daddy likes.
Yeah?
Yeah, keep going.
So right now, you have controversy left and right, specifically about COVID-19. So we're still in the middle of a pandemic. States are opened, sort of half opened up at least. Our state of Maryland is mostly opened up, but no large gatherings.
Yeah.
But there are still, and we've sort of, when the kids were home for about 6 weeks from school, they got home in March. After they'd been home about 6 weeks and they hadn't been anywhere, they hadn't been in a store, you and I sort of made the conscious decision of like, we're not keeping them away from other kids anymore. No. When they see their friends in the neighborhood, we're not, and the other parents were not either. Like, we let the kid, because we decided at that moment, teaching our kids to stay away from other kids is not how we're going to live. No. Like, we've seen at that point, we were like, we've seen the data.
Yeah.
We are not going to do this. We're not going to raise our kids to be afraid of other people.
Yes.
Specifically other kids. So that's kind of how it started. And then you and I, we talked about how great quarantine was for certain things, how getting us to slow down, getting us to spend more time with the family. Mm-hmm. But then we reached this level where we were like, we're done. Yeah. So the next phase of it was, what are we willing to risk to have the life we want? Because living inside became not living for us. Like, where we're like, I get it. Like, and I'm not going to go cough all over someone's grandmother. So before you crucify us, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go out when I'm sick and get all the elderly sick. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just going out, doing things outdoors, doing things in closed spaces.
I'm going to cough on your grandmother.
Okay. But so we reached a point where we're like, this isn't living. And I also want to kind of speak to the Barstool Sports, where there comes a point with business where I heard you. So, so why don't you, I've been ranting a minute. You take over.
Did you actually locally on the island? I just saw this come across the red tape, Ken Island happenings or residents of Ken Island. There's some drama going on with Sports Clip.
Oh,
and did you see this yet?
Yes.
So being a business owner, you are in the line of fire. Like, this is the new world we live in, where no matter what you do, you can literally donate, food every week to the homeless. But guess what? You're still public enemy, like number 6. There's 5 other people in front of you.
You mean like if a customer comes in and has a bad experience?
Not just that, just like, you support it police officers, we saw that you supported them 3 years ago. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, or
like,
you support LGBTQ, so we're gonna so churches will boycott you, or
and
you
it's
know.
just so, it's too much. Like, this cancel culture is bullshit. Like, you need to stop, and we're all gonna be better off for it. You can't cancel everything. All right, there's certain things that, yes, it's time for us to move on and move forward. But like Barstool Sports, they make their money and always have by being very satirical, very in your face, like Howard Stern back in the day. And the CEO, she's a badass woman, was like, look, I'm not going to have it. I can't apologize for you feeling offended. All right. And I'm there with
Yeah.
her. I'm like, I'm tired of stepping on eggshells
Right.
all the time.
Right.
Like, you know, if I'm at the store and, you know, my cell phone goes off and you get offended, like, I'm done. I'm done,
Right.
like,
Right.
trying to please everybody.
I actually thought you were going to go to the place where who's not the CEO, who's the dude that talked on Instagram about, so COVID is still a risk, but I'm just supposed to like give up on my business. I'm just supposed to like
So that is
close
the
everything.
founder.
Okay, the founder of
Because
Barstool
he's
Sports.
the personality. His name is David Portnoy, and he's gotten kicked out of the NFL. Like, he literally was a sports like reporter, but he's just this beast, force of nature with an attitude. And he's just like, look, what am I supposed to do? Just shut down? I'm just supposed to like lock
COVID,
down?
yeah, COVID is still a risk. It is still killing people. The death rate though is pretty like
It's
way
so
lower
minimal.
than we ever thought, and no one wants to die. But that's why we're talking about this.
I don't want people to die from like a
Getting
cough,
hit, right? Or
you know,
getting hit. I mean, we have risk in our lives,
Yeah.
which is where at first we were like, we don't know what this thing's going to do. Nobody knew what this thing is going to do.
Yeah.
Now that we've seen the death rate, the hospitalization rate, you know, we don't go to large gatherings, you know, but we are going to live our lives. And
Yes.
so the founder of Barstool Sports is like, so what? I'm just supposed to, you know, if this thing is a risk, I'm just supposed to shut down my business and
Yeah.
everything I've ever worked for? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So there's risk, and there are still many people who I know who are still on lockdown. And to each his or her own, I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Nope, this isn't it's not living. And I'm going to be smart. I'm going to stay home if I'm sick.
Well,
I will
if
wear a
they're-
dumb mask if I'm required. I don't think they're effective. I think if we're touching the same things.
Well, you just don't know what, like, if you really think about it, yes, I'll wear a mask inside, I'll comply, I'll do all those things.
I'll follow the law.
But, like, me sneezing in a restaurant during non-COVID times, could that sneeze ultimately affect someone's health? Like, you're getting very down the rabbit hole of, let's say we all have a vaccine, all right? We're all healthy. But then you're back out at a restaurant and you cough, and then somebody, then a couple tables over, you know, passes away weeks later because of whatever regular illness. Like, how far down the rabbit hole is the blame going to go?
Well, and somebody posted in my feed, which I'm so done with my Facebook feed, by the way.
I'm never on my Facebook feed.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So someone posted, let's talk about COVID in terms of glitter. If you've got or crafting, if you've got 5 people crafting and 1 has glitter, how many have glitter? Well, all 5, of course. But if I have a mask and I'm still working with glitter, glitter is still everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're really going to use the crafting, you know, if I'm have glitter up here, even if all my glitter starts in my mask, I'm still going to have glitter on my hands. And so that's my point is I mean, if we all stay home when we're not feeling well and we all socially distance when we can, I don't know if covering my face is going to be that much more effective than me touching everything that you know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm so proud of you right now because, like, when Corona started back in February and we all had to be ultra sensitive, I was like, good Lord, how long do we have to be, like, politically correct and sensitive?
But you and I have switched roles.
And now you're like, whole ham, like, whatever, people. Like, deal with it.
Right. Well, and I've seen a lot of businesses be devastated. So, nice segue into business risk, okay? We can talk about business risk. We can talk about investment risk. So
Yeah.
segue, I've seen businesses be devastated before COVID. I've seen businesses be devastated through COVID. And there's risk in anything we do, but a lot of people, they think starting a business, running a business, like that's the riskiest thing ever. But me personally, now that, I mean, look, there was a long time where I ran a business and I worked really hard for no pay. I mean, that's how a lot of people start out.
I remember.
I know, you were there. You still supported me. Now that I've figured out how to make a living out of it, the riskiest thing in my mind is going to work for someone else.
Yeah.
And and not only that, but work for someone else and have to tell them or ask them when I'm taking off or working from home or that to me is the biggest risk. So you talk about, high risk, high reward. Can you talk about that in terms of investing maybe a little bit too?
Yeah, I mean, let's keep it on the real estate side as far as like, you gotta understand your markets. You have to know what you're getting yourself into. Just like anything. Starting a business, you don't just jump right into, I'm gonna put $100,000 in. No, you do a lot of research. And that's how you should build your investment portfolio also. How are you researching your real estate portfolio? Is this a high market that people want to be in? We live in a vacation community. What other higher market is there? Plus, you have access to kind of a recession-proof work area because of the federal government.
You're talking about where we live?
Where we live. So, and all around the DC area. Not every city is like that, though. Not every city is hot on demand for, they don't have an Amazon where thousands of jobs are being created all the time. So you have to be very selective. You have to do your homework, and you have to not trust the source of information. Like you go to a vacation town, you're having the best time ever, right? You just went and you went hiking, you went down some waterfalls, and you're like, this is great, let's do it. You talk to a realtor, oh yeah, we're always booked up. People are always here. You're there on a Saturday, it's 4th of July. Everybody and their mother's there.
Right.
Then you come back 3 weeks later and nobody's there.
Or in November.
And you're listening to the realtor because you're like, oh, they're a source of information. It's not COVID. Hashtag it's not COVID.
I had granola before this.
Poor choice. That's worse than COVID. So anyway, you have to be cynical. You have to go to places not in peak hours. So a really good example of buying real estate is you should drive by it around like 6 o'clock at night so you see the neighbors that are, might be next, what type of neighborhood is it?
We talked about this last time too. You also have to plan for the worst case. When we give our rental update, you have to plan for the worst case. You have to say, okay, what if I buy this property and it doesn't rent out for 12 months? Can I afford the mortgage okay? Like, are we going to be all right if this doesn't rent out? Or if we have a bad renter? Like, you can't, one of my favorite pieces of advice from Tom Bilyeu with Impact Theory is don't ever sign up for oh my gosh, it's an extinction event. It's like it's something like extinction event or catastrophic. Basically, don't ever make a decision that could put you under financially, personally, or financially in business.
If you're making $50,000 a year, don't go out and buy something that costs you $300,000 because it might make you another $50,000 a year. That could put you out of business if all of a sudden it's costing you and it's not making you money.
Right.
And now your business is gone because all of your money has been put into paying off.
If you want to afford something that costs an extra payment and it's more than you can afford, you might have to side hustle it, bartend, wait tables, like to afford that extra payment until you can actually realize whether it's making you money or not.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's as far as business risk, real estate risk, personal risk. With business, oh my gosh, I totally it was like poof, gone.
Well, just clients you take on. At first, you take on every single client that comes your way. You're like, oh yes, it's money in the door. But then you want to make sure that you're not dealing with someone that's got a track record for being litigious.
Right.
They love to sue people.
Oh my gosh, if you have a client that you think it's going to end badly, it's going to end badly. Just so you know. Like, just if you get like the radar goes up that it's like the crazies.
The butterflies in your stomach.
No, if you're just like something's not right and it's going to end badly. But that's okay. It doesn't always have to end
Here's a
in
far-fetched
suing.
theory for everybody. Is I'm not a huge believer in time moves forward. I think time kind of moves backwards.
I love it. We should be sitting around a campfire talking about this.
I know. And when you feel like butterflies, you meet someone and you're having a meeting with them and you're like, your stomach's, for me, it's a stomach turn.
Oh, is it?
And like, that's where my spidey sense.
For me, it's the cross eyes. If they make me go.
Yeah.
Like,
You can just tell, like, you've already lived, like, the nightmare that's going to happen with that person.
Interesting.
And your stomach's telling you, like, my spidey sense, of course, is my stomach. Like,
why do you say that? Because you have a food channel?
yeah, you always got to be eating something.
Yeah.
Give me food.
Well, I'm so glad that your spidey sense didn't send you running from me.
Definitely not.
My crazy didn't scare you away. I figured out what I was going to say. I think it's the income diversification too.
Yes.
Is there's a lot of people think that buying real estate is risky. A lot of people think that owning businesses are risky. Buying a franchise is risky. Going out during COVID is risky.
Yeah.
But back to the income thing, getting off the pandemic for a minute, is that it's not getting off the pandemic, because look how many people's one income went
Just
away.
got shut down.
So if your income, I don't know now if anybody can say that their income is completely bulletproof. I think you have to think about how to diversify. You have to.
Yes. And let me say this. If, we want to be super sensitive to people that might have lost their income. All right. And now I'm not being sensitive to that, because if you're the type of person that's like, like they just don't know, like we're down to one income, it's so hard. All right, you're never going to be a go-getter. All right, if you're in that I'm a victim. But if you're listening and you're like, yes, how do I get another funnel of income coming my way? How do I get that rental property? How do I get my investment portfolio to generate more? How do I make that happen? If that burns, if you get that spidey sense in your stomach, like, how do I make that happen? Then yes, you have the energy, you have the level, you have the want to get there. Now you just need to do your homework and start getting ready to get that next income coming.
And get ready to put your hustle game on, because I thought of something else earlier too. People who are true go-getters and they're visionaries, like they're not just visionaries, they'll actually work for it. They actually, they'll put some elbow grease into everything they do. They'll burn the midnight oil. Those are the people who they work their butts off. And a lot of people think like, I'm going to work my butt off so that I can relax in retirement. Like I'm going to work so hard so that I can relax. But the irony is that people who have that grit and that work ethic and that vision, once they achieve success, they don't want to relax.
Yeah.
They realize how fun it is. Like then it just becomes fun to make it happen. So it's almost like if you want a cushy lifestyle and you're here, like you're at the beginning, well, you're probably not going to work so hard to be able to afford a cushy life. Like you're kind of always just like, you have to choose. You have to choose. Do I want to work my tail off for that freedom? Because, that freedom that says I can take off, I can work for myself, I don't have to listen to anybody. Mm-hmm. But the irony is you won't want to.
That's so funny.
Because you get what I'm saying? Because you know what it takes to get there, and then it's just fun.
Yes.
But if you're like, I don't want to work that hard, well, then you might never achieve that freedom, and that's okay, but you have to accept the consequences of either.
Yes. It's so funny you say that, because I was literally thinking of, like, what's the next income source? What's it going to be? Because I love my job, but I don't ever want to be put in a situation where my job no longer exists. All right? They could pass some law and say, we don't like that type of profession anymore. It could happen. And then all of a sudden my job's gone. So I want freedom. I ultimately want freedom. I want to be able to hop in the car and go, still making money, right? Money while you sleep. That's what everybody's big dream is. So I'm always thinking, and what Aaron just said is you got to be, who's the visionaries? All right, I'm a visionary, but I know I need to throttle it back to reality because I come up with really good ideas. And I know we've talked about this. Don't give me that grin. Look at that grin. Look at that little put him. Oh, put him. But like Aaron, when she thinks of something big, like boom, it's going to happen. And she's going to implement. I'll think of something big and it's like, oh, that's a great idea, but I'm thinking of step 28. How do I get through step 1? I really don't want to do step 1. I don't want to climb the mountain.
You also have like a silver spoon of ideas where like
so
you think
nice.
of ideas, but it's like, oh my God, Kevin, how much is that going to cost us?
No, not all of them. Not all of them.
Not all of them.
I do still want to buy that lot of land.
I know.
We'll
But,
talk about that
yeah,
later.
we will. But I thought of a quote that I love, and actually, I'm sure somebody said some variation of it, but I'm pretty sure it's my quote. Okay, in order to have what most people don't, you have to be willing to do what most people won't. Okay.
You better
Put
trademark
my name
that
on it.
before Rachel Hollis does.
If you want to have what most people don't, and not that you're more like, let's have, like, I don't care what we have in compared to other, like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't motivate me. It's not that I want what everybody doesn't have. It's that I want freedom like you, and I want what I want.
Yeah.
So if you want to have the things that are considered exceptional, even if that means, a job with, or, a day with no getting up early in the morning, or you don't have to, that could be your definition of freedom and success. It doesn't have to be like a mansion or a Ferrari, but in order to have what most people don't, everybody has access to free information on the internet to do whatever they want. But most people won't.
Yeah.
They
It's
will
so
not
funny.
do it.
I think people, when they get to the financial level where they can buy the Ferrari, they can buy the mansion. So many of them, like, they're like, I don't need it. Like, there's people that definitely buy
Well, because
it.
that's not gratifying. Like, to buy something that's just like, I worked so hard I could afford this, that in itself isn't usually personally gratifying.
No. And I think they just realize they don't want it anymore. I do have some friends that have bought really expensive cars, and they come from very humble beginnings, and they didn't realize that these really expensive cars take a lot of tender love and care. Like, you have to babysit your car and make sure it's being driven, it's got special yada yada yada. Anyway, they end up selling it pretty quickly when you come from humble beginnings. If you're like one of those, what is it, Sheiks of Sunset, or it's on Bravo. There's a fly in here.
Oh!
It's the rich oil kids from Saudi Arabia that get to run around, and they're in Ferraris because, their first starter car was like a Hummer, like when they were 12.
Right.
And
Yeah,
now
that's
they're like,
something else.
let's move to Ferraris. Anyway, I digress. Anything else?
No, I think we hit it all. Any other pots you want to stir?
Oh, I think that was more you this time. You guys know the drill. If you like this, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and
decide, what are you willing to risk to have the life that you want? Write it down, work for it, go get it.